Hey then everyone, welcome along to another video. So this video is, as you can see, the Potato Master Race. We're going to call it. No, we're not going to call it. It is basically, in a nutshell, me trying to show the people that are on console the cheapest way over to PC with second-hand parts. Obviously, we're not going pre-built. We're not going new parts. We are second-hand parts. We're going to try and get a system that will run 1080p, 1440p, possibly 4K, depending on how big or how deep your pockets you want to go. But we're trying to keep it around what a Xbox Series X will cost you now, which is around sort of £250, something like that. Obviously, you've probably got all your sim rig, all your equipment and stuff like that, I presume. So it's just really the basis. So as I said, this video is just to sort of help. And it's going to be a series. Don't know how long this series is going to run for. I was in the sort of mindset that the system that I've got wouldn't run anything and then we would upgrade. But as you'll see from this video, it actually runs certain titles quite well, which I'm shocked. But as I said, let's dive in. I have tested a few sim titles, or the main sim titles that people would probably be interested in. At the sort of lowest settings and stuff like that. I'll give you a breakdown of what the computers cost me. Then, as I said, in the next episode, we will upgrade parts and we will do the benchmarks again. So without further ado, let's get the PC up that we have got. There it is in all its glory. As you can see, obviously it doesn't look much. It's just in a sort of a stock case. At the end of the day, if people want the aesthetics, if they want the RGB, if they want all the bells and whistles, it's going to cost you extra. As I said, this is just sheer down to basic minimal money that it's sort of going to cost me, or has cost me, to sim race on a budget. Get into the sort of the PC Master Race. Get into that side of it, being able to buy all the sim titles that are out there, pretty much. Obviously, bar GT7, you can't get that on PC. But all the sim titles that are on PC that aren't, say, on console, LMU, Assetto Corsa Evo, stuff like that, just to show that it can be done. And it's, as I said, it's a starting point for people that don't maybe know their way around a PC. And as I said, want to leave the console side and get to PC. So, as I said, there it is. What we're going to do now is we're going to get down pretty much into what it is. So it is an AMD system, or AM4 system is what it's called, which is basically, I'm not going to go into the real sort of nitty gritty and stuff because it might go over people's heads. As I said, I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible. So it's an AM4 system, which what the CPU is, which is what basically the motherboard CPU is. What it's on. So with that, it's obviously a DDR4. Because of RAM prices and everything else, absolutely just ridiculous at the minute. I thought an AM4 system would be the way to go. I was going to go even older. I was going to go, I think, with a 4790K, which is like a 4th gen Intel. That would have been DDR3. But going on what games are like now, sim titles, they want more cores. 4 cores, 4 threads. I just don't think it would have cut it, to be honest with you. So, yeah. As I said, it's an AM4 system. Now, in that, we have the Ryzen 5 3600, which is a 6-core, 8-thread CPU, which, as I said, is, really basically spot on, pretty much. Yes, you can go further with it. You could upgrade later on. You're not at your sort of end of upgrades on it. You can get better processors that will fit your board. Obviously, sort of from that, I would go a better board, but as I said, then we're talking the nitty gritty. We're talking more money and everything else. So let's just keep it simple. So 3600 Ryzen paired with 16 gigs of DDR4, 2 sticks in obviously 2 channels. I think there's 4 channels on the board. Getting to the board, it is a MSI 320M A Pro. It's not the greatest motherboard, but you're not going to be looking to overclock. At the end of the day, that's least of your worries. You just want to get in, turn the system on, install your games, get the games up and running. And obviously, unlike console, there's so many sliders, buttons, things to tweak to adjust your graphics. So that's really what you want to be concerned about. So from the motherboard, the thing that's going to basically show the image is a GTX 1050 Ti. Now, this is probably the biggest part that we're going to upgrade, because RAM 16 gigs is probably where you want to be. 32, yes, is obviously nice, but 16 gigs will run you fine. 8 gigs would have been too little. So we are sort of in the sort of sweet spot. But yeah, the 1050 Ti is going to be the basically the factor that we're going to upgrade. That is going to be the part. That's the thing that shows you the image. Yes, the processor helps to a certain extent with different games if they're CPU bound, but most of them are going to be GPU bound. So as I said, this is the main part that we're going to upgrade. It is a 4 gigabyte version. Anyone that knows their sort of graphics cards, 4 gig is an issue. People really say the bare minimum now is sort of 8 gig on your graphics card. So like I said, were we going to come up with issues? I said, just, yeah, wait and see in the video. So on to the first benchmark that I did. This is solely to benchmark for my sort of purposes, so I can compare when I upgrade the graphics card, basically. I mean, you don't really have to worry about this. It probably don't mean a lot to the people that are not in the know, sort of, like, I don't know a lot about it. But yeah, as I said, there's the sort of scores. And as I said, it just gives me a basis to see where we've started from and see where we get to, instead of sort of running benchmarks in games, because most games, or especially sim racing games, don't have an in-game benchmark. So it is quite difficult to sort of see your FPS unless you, like I do with some videos, I record a replay, see the FPS counter, and then I put it to another replay of exactly the same on a different, say, different hardware, different platform, different sort of version number of the game. So as I said, this is really just to do with me. So we did a CPU one as well, which you can see the scores there. And then we moved on to another, which is just pretty much a GPU bound. The first one was sort of GPU and CPU. The second one was CPU on its own. And this one now is just pretty much GPU bound. So then we go on to, again, another just CPU test, Cinebench. I have sped this up pretty much to get it going quicker, just to bring it up. And obviously, yeah, as I said, there's the score at the end. So yeah, let's get into the games. This is where everyone wants to see. So PMR, because I play PMR, yeah, we're just going to quickly run through. So everything is on basic low. I changed the atmosphere quality because I noticed when I run a test before on this, if I turn it off, the sky goes black, which is no good. So into the settings, we're going to go with pretty much no cars to find out, yeah, where we sit, because obviously the more cars usually in sim racing uses more CPU. So we're going to go out, we're going to load the game, and we're going to come in. And as you can see, obviously we're on our own, as you can see. And yeah, we get in and it is drivable. It's running sort of 30 FPS, as you can see. Yeah, for me, it is drivable. Yes, it looks a bit like a PS3 game, graphics wise. Yeah, I don't know what you guys think, but I was shocked. It's playable. I mean, we're using 100% of the GPU, as you can see. We're around, yeah, pretty much 28, 29, 30 FPS. We're only running sort of 20 something at the CPU. So that basically there is a bottleneck, which is basically meaning that the GPU is the limiting factor here, which obviously I knew anyway. So, but yeah, for me, it seems to run okay. So we're going to jump out. We're going to show the replay, because sometimes the replay gives us a bit more FPS, sometimes it doesn't. As you can see, it's dropped down to 18, 17. It's, yeah, a lot more taxing than the actual in cockpit. But yeah, still not too bad. Would you say playable? It's debatable. So let's move on to changing the settings, basically adding AI. This is where it's going to obviously make or break this, the graphics card, pretty much. So on the grid, as you can see straight away, we are 22, 23. Yeah, not good, to be fair. Let's jump in the cockpit. 27. which again isn't too bad, if I'm honest. So let's launch. Let's go down the grid. Obviously, as I said, it looks a bit like PS3. But what I noticed was there wasn't any stutters. Also, the sound was okay. Changing gears, there was no sort of delay or anything like that, because obviously people want over 60 FPS or even 100, 120 FPS. And I've noticed on certain titles and even games where if you're running under 30, even sort of 20, 25 FPS, you get a delay with everything. This was still responsive. Okay, I'm sort of closing my eyes to do with the graphics and everything else, but for me, it's playable. I'm sorry to say it, guys, it is playable. Yeah, at the end of the, because as I said, there was no weird issues to do with sort of really low frame rate, or there was lag on gears changes or anything like that. It just seemed to work. So onto the replay. As I said, this is where it's going to sort of drop. It did in the last replay. 21 to 19. Here we go. 16. But it's still, I say it's not smooth, granted, but it's still running. It hasn't crashed. It hasn't done anything. So, yeah. Who says PMR isn't optimized? Who says it's not? Yeah. Doesn't run well. Yeah, okay, we're down to 14 FPS there, but yeah, it is what it is. So, let's move on. So, onto ACC, good old ACC. Obviously, we started off high. I've just had to sort of get rid of my settings. So, we're going to put everything to low pretty much. I sort of and ahed, as you'll see here, where I'm sort of flicking back and forth. I was like, do we just jump straight into Epic and kill the card? And we're like, no, because we did start off low on PMR. So, we do start off low. And yeah, we work our way up, basically. But in all fairness, this is one that I was shocked with, to be honest with you. But it just goes to show you how well optimized the game is, pretty much. So we're going to run with a hot lap because, again, I wanted to do sort of PMR, no cars, and then loads of cars, i.e. to stress the CPU. So as you can see, yes, they're the lowest settings. It actually doesn't look too bad, and it's running 100, over 100 FPS, which I was like, you are having a laugh. There is no way it's running, yeah, in car 126. What the, yeah, I'm gobsmacked, to be fair, absolutely gobsmacked. So I was like, right, okay, let's obviously, yeah, sort our controls out because I couldn't drive. Something strange. Obviously, I've installed Steam on the other computer, but all my settings and yeah, for everything weren't there. It was like starting afresh. So, as I said, we're yeah 128. I mean, we tipped to 130 at one point. GPU's at 100%, CPU's at close, almost touching 40%. I'd say that's where we're getting our frames as well. So it isn't as bottlenecked as PMR. Basically, that's what it seems to me. So the GPU has got more to give on this because, as I said, it's not bottlenecked, or it's not, yeah, it is well optimized. So, but yeah, as I said, guys, I was just shocked, if I'm honest. Yeah. So obviously, I'm like, yeah, let's change settings, shall we? Let's go again. So go to the settings. We're going to add the AI because we want to try and kill the FPS. And obviously it's going to kill the FPS because it obviously runs more CPU, and then that sort of takes from the GPU. So straight away we're like almost half. So, I mean, up to 100, but we are in cockpit view, and always cockpit view seems, obviously, yeah, it's not as bad. It's when you've got the cars around you, if they're in front of you. Obviously, there is settings in sim titles that you can drop down the number of cars that are visible to you, which will then help you with your FPS. If you're in a race with, say, 30 odd drivers, you're not going to see them all at any one time on the grid because it is heavy on your CPU. I mean, we're at almost 60% CPU usage, so, but yeah, still 90%, which, yeah, is not to be sniffed at the end of the day. So, But yeah, what I do down here is I just slow down and I just let the cars through. Just so we've got cars in front. But it's all well and good having them in the mirror. That doesn't really affect the FPS. We want the cars in front. Maybe I could have let more cars through, but hey. I think I was just, as I said, astounded by the FPS. So, yeah. It was, yeah, pretty good. So, but yeah, again, we'll just get around this corner and we will jump over and we will up the settings. So, we're going to go medium. It's a no-brainer. Easy enough to do. Straight out. Jump straight in. So yeah, we've got the cars this time. It's not worth doing single. At the end of the day, we're all going to be either going against AI or online, or you're going to be up against opponents. So yeah, so in the cockpit, we're running 82, which yeah, again, is pretty good at the end of the day. Not too sure if you can see the graphics improvement. I mean, you'll have to let me know in the chat box below whether you do see an improvement from low to high. Obviously, we have lost FPS, but not a substantial amount. Hate the limiter on this. I mean, apologies for the racing line as well. Like I said, I just left it as it was. Yeah, I started recording. I realised I had the racing line, and I thought, well, I can't take it off now. I've already done sort of 20 minutes of recording. So yeah, we're down to 70, 78, 71. So they're all now starting to filter. 3 or 4 cars are going to get somebody else. So like I said, just trying to stress it, trying to get the CPU to up its usage, and then it will drop the FPS. But I mean, we're still over 60, and as I said, I don't think it looks too bad. I really don't. At 1080p, yes, it's not Xbox, it's not PlayStation levels of quality and graphics, but again, I'm shocked that a card that's probably worth 30 to 40 pounds, graphics card, is running it pretty well, to be fair. So up to high, we're going to come back out and restart. It's easier than coming out to the main menu. So as you can see, instant drop, 36, massive drop. So we're not at 60 now. Is 30 gonna be adequate? I don't know. I mean, I know PMR at some stage was running on console at 30 FPS. So I mean, in car again, we're at 50. So it's not too bad, but you just know once the cars sort of get in front of me, it's going to be, yeah, it's going to drop right down. So, but again, do you think the graphics look pretty good for 1080p for the game? Do you think, are they enough? Would you be able to run this? Would you be happy to run it? Obviously, coming from a console that's supposedly running 4K and everything else, you probably won't be. But again, it's trying to give you that doorway into the PC side, that sim racing on PC on a budget, a very small budget at the end of the day. So we're down to 47, 43, 46, 44. I mean, don't worry about the mirror. Actually, I forgot to say the mirror's set on the lowest quality anyway, so it does look very pixelated. It's not, I mean, I run sort of that anyway, even at sort of 4K on mine, because it just lessens the usage of the CPU and GPU. So up to 50. So yeah, what can I say? But yeah, obviously we've got to try Epic. I mean, there's other things that you can try, sliders and stuff like that, to make it even look better, but I just used the presets, which was easier for this video. So yeah, Epic, we're straight down to 26 on the outside with all the cars, and it bounces up again to 35. Again, all I thought was, if you can keep it over 30 or 30 and over, I think it's usable. It's not like, juddering. There's no stutters, there's no, as they call them, frame drops. Anyone that knows about PCs, they sort of measure your average FPS and they measure your 1% lows, which is basically what your stutters are, what it drops down to, what's your lowest. Obviously you don't want really low, you don't want under 60, because then you'll get you'll feel the sort of stutter. But yeah, there wasn't really any major drops. It was still very smooth, as you can see. Obviously, trying to let more cars through. The AI are, yeah, abysmal in this game, to be fair. So we're still sort of, yeah, 20, 29, 30, 32. But obviously we haven't, I mean, what we've got, 4 cars in front. So, I mean, I'm sure, yeah, I do on this one, I do show the replay of the start. And that's where things tank a bit more, because you are showing all the other cars, which, as I said before, is what kills your CPU, basically. The more cars on track around you that you can see, it, yeah, does your CPU. So, as you can see, this is the replay. And as I said, I'm, like, just blown away by the graphics. Absolutely blown away. On a graphics card that, like I said, is about 30 to 40 pound it's worth. Maybe slightly less, possibly. It's running 4 gigs of VRAM, which, as they say now, is not enough. You want a lot more. So, yeah, I think we dipped down to 23 there. But as I said, you will see dips now, because you're seeing a lot more cars once the race starts. I mean, we're up to 30, as you can see, because we're only seeing one more car. Once you start getting the cars into the view, into the sort of one frame, or the one shot, so to speak, then you start to see it, yeah, tank. But this is why I did with, yeah, the AI, because it's what you'll be doing. So down to 22, 20, 21, but again, still not so much playable, but it's not stuttering, it's not, game's not crashing. I said, I'm absolutely blown away. So I said, going from PMR, yes, we know PMR isn't optimized, but yeah, this just worked. It worked, and it was playable. I'm sorry, I could play this quite easily. So obviously, yeah, just down the graphics settings slightly to get a bit more FPS, but yeah. So on to LMU. We go on about games that are sort of very well optimized and no issues. Straight away with this, I don't know if you can see, it's stuttering, the frames are bouncing, so it's going to 11, and then it will go back up to 114, then it will stutter again. Yeah, so anyway, we tried to give it a go. Obviously, we put everything down. Refresh rate didn't really matter, but I thought I'd change it anyway. Yeah, we basically went, everything was low as it will go. And yeah, then we sort of jumped out. Okay, race weekend. As you can see, we're still getting the stutters and stuff. I didn't hold much hope for this, if I'm honest. I think the stutters are possibly to do with the 4 gigs of VRAM. As I said, we need 8. I think that's what was causing the sort of, yeah, the real, like I said, 1% lows, really bad stutters. But yeah, we still muddled on. Like I said, as you can see, it was just taking a little bit longer to sort of click stuff because of the stutters. So, okay, so got to the loading screen, and I kid you not, it took 5 minutes to load. As you can see, the percentage bar, I have actually sped this up for the sake of the video. Obviously, I didn't want you sitting there for 5 minutes with it loading. So, yeah, I've sped it up. I said we get to the end, and yeah, basically we got into the server, and it sort of hung for a bit. Then it loaded up everything, as you can see, everyone that's in the server and stuff. So I just sat there, and as soon as cars started to go out, basically, it then crashed. As you can see, I got no signal because it's going through my capture card into my main PC. Comes back, and then, yeah, it just goes again. And obviously we get a crash report. So from that, I wasn't going to carry on, and yeah, we'll move on. So Assetto Corsa Evo. Yeah, all low settings. Sorry, I haven't shown the settings that I'm running, but it was pretty much, yeah, everything was low. As you can see, it's not too bad. I mean, the FPS is low. There's jagged lines. Again, it looks a bit like PlayStation 3. But yeah, it's still drivable at the end of the day. So yeah, we drive out the pits. As I said, again, everything was working. I mean, yeah, definitely let me know in the description box below. Could you drive with graphics like this. Yeah, I think from my perspective, I sort of see the so-called logic of if I was to go from console to PC. Yes, I'm on PC already, yeah, but say if I was not on PC and I wanted to go to console, from console to PC, I'd be okay with this as long as you could still drive the car, there was no issues, stutters or whatever. And again, a bit like ACC, no stutters, nothing at all. Look, I mean, we're only running 22 PSI, 20 PSI. God, I'm talking tyres now. We're only running 22 FPS. And it's drivable. As I said, there was no major stutters, there was no nothing. It's still drivable. So, as I said, as a gateway into all the sim titles that aren't on console, I think this is feasible to a certain extent. Yes, I'm spoiled. I'm running max 1440p. I used to run on a single screen, close to max on most of these with 4K, and it looked great. Yeah. So you've got the driving plus you've got the looks. But as I said again, for a gateway into PC sim racing, I don't think it's too bad. Right, let's get on to the replay. See what that looks like. See if we got any major drops or anything like that. I mean, yes, yeah. I mean, as I said, definitely give me your feedback. Give me your opinions from obviously sort of playing on console. I know, I mean, GT7 graphics look really, really good. PMR, not so much at the minute until it's optimized. Assetto Corsa competition only, the graphics are really good on console on that. So, as I said, yeah, would you be happy with this? Obviously, yes, the series is going to entail upgrading. But as I said, still, the big word is budget. The big word is, yeah, not too sure what went on here. I think the camera's pointing at a rock and that's it. It's not panning out. So, it was, yeah, I thought it was a bit bizarre. But as I said, for me, it seems to work. So, not an issue. You know, up to 30 FPS there. So, right, let's move on to the next one. Right, so, next one is going to be the original Assetto Corsa, because I know from experience, this is an old title. Yes, we're not running the mods. We're not running all the bells and whistles with it, because I think then it would tank the FPS. We're just running the base game as you get it when you buy it. There's no content manager. There's no, as I said, yeah, the funky looking skies now and the graphics enhancements and everything else. This is bog standard. So, and as I said, I know that this doesn't run. It's not very taxing on your hardware. So I had high hopes for this. So into the options, we basically pretty much drop everything down. Basically, I'm going to skip this because, yeah, we pretty much run everything on its lowest. And yeah, we then go into the benchmark. The actual benchmark that's in the sim title, which I'm, yeah, quite impressed with. So as you can see, we are 129 FPS, 126. Yes, we're in the car, but we're still surrounded by the AI, and we're only running 15% CPU. Yes, the GPU is maxed out pretty much, but it's, yeah, getting me 132, 135, 136. Just unreal. If I'm honest, I was like, okay, yeah, we're running the lowest settings, but there's room to maneuver. There's room to improve. So let's get out and let's change the settings. So into the settings, I was like, right, we'll just pretty much max everything out. I mean, a few things I left. I think if you notice with the other menu, anti-aliasing and stuff like that, I could have upped that by sort of up to ×8, I think, maybe 16 on this. But pretty much I upped everything else. So as you can see, looks better straight away, and we're hovering around about 60. So we've cut our FPS by half, but we have upped the quality. And again, if I'm honest with you, I think this doesn't look too bad, and it's playable, very playable at 60. As I said, we're not, I'm not going to try and spoil you with like 100, 120. We're sort of, obviously, the guys that are on console again that want to come over to PC, you guys are used to sort of 60 FPS pretty much if you run at 4K. Okay, if you run the Series X at 1440p you can run at 120 FPS, but most people just run it at 4K. So I say 60 is the sort of norm. I'm still hover around sort of, or happy with 60, I should say. I mean, when I've got my triples and that, so it's, yeah, for me it's not a problem. But as I said, yeah, we're sort of smack around 60 FPS, and as I said again, I don't think it looks too bad, if I'm honest. So yeah, I knew this title would run well. I knew, because it's an older title, and obviously older graphics cards were out there, and there's none of these sort of 5090s and stuff like that back then. So yeah, I knew this would run well. But what shocked me was LMU just not working, and then what shocked me in a positive way was Assetto Corsa Competizione. That just blew my mind, how well that ran on this pretty much absolute dog GPU that we've got in this system. So, but right, let's get to the nitty gritty, shall we? So, how much did the PC cost me? I found it on eBay. I did travel quite a bit to go and get it, but I'm sort of lucky I've got an electric car, so it cost me probably about £5 to go and get it. Because as you'll see on eBay, most people don't want to ship the PCs for obvious reasons. They'd rather people come and collect. So I saw it, I saw the processor, and I thought it's a no-brainer to get this processor with, yeah, the graphics card isn't great, but it'll make a good starting point for this series, which it will do. And I'm shocked, because when we do update this graphics card to a better one, some of these titles that are ran not too bad anyway are going to run really well. So, but yeah, let's get into it. So the PC itself cost me 110. We won't factor in, like I said, delivery, because I went to get it. It was only a £5. At the end of the day, we're not going to sort of, yeah, really go to town and look at every amount of money I've spent. And I mean, you could add then for HDMI cables and stuff like that, but we're not going to do that. So as I said, 110 for the PC. Now, it came with a mechanical hard drive, which is basically the older hard drives, for anyone that don't know. They've got the spinning wheel inside and everything else. That's what they call mechanical hard drives. Now, they're not that quick. And most sim titles now, especially the new ones, want you to at least have an SSD, which is a solid state drive. Not an M.2. An M.2 is basically then the next step up from an SSD, which are basically even quicker. Problem is, with the RAM prices, the SSDs have gone up. So lucky enough, I had a 500 gig SSD lying around, but I have had a look on eBay secondhand, and I've had a look to see what prices they are to factor that in, because I'm trying to keep this as transparent as possible for parts that I'm going to buy. So basically that is £34. So then, yeah, the total is 144 pretty much. So yeah, we are at £144 for the whole system, and you've seen the way it runs. You could run it like that, granted, but yeah, we want more. So moving on from this, we are going to replace the glaringly obvious part, which is the graphics card. We are going to update. I'm going to go and have a look and see what is the sort of bang for buck graphics card choice, pretty much. And yeah, go and basically buy one. But what we're going to do is we're going to sell the one that's in the system, as I said, to try and gain some money back. And then we're going to buy one. Now, whether I go and buy a sort of slightly lesser than what I'm thinking about to maybe run the series to sort of 3 episodes, I don't know. As I said, with the RAM, I mean, you could update the RAM, you could get faster RAM speeds, but again, then I'm open up at a can of worms. I'm open. We're sort of going to slip down a sort of a rabbit hole of loads of different statistics and everything else, which I don't want to do. I think the RAM's adequate enough. It's quite slow. Whether I got faster RAM would give me more FPS, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. So as I said, the glaringly obvious thing is the GTX 1050 Ti. So what we're going to do is, this video will come to an end. I will go and purchase another graphics card, and we'll start again with the testing. And yeah, we will see. And hopefully what the main goal is to try and keep it under probably 300 is what I'm looking at. Yes, the Xbox Series X is 250, but this is PC. This opens up a lot more sim racing titles for you sim racers out there. This is what the whole video is about. Basically, this is what I'm trying to make it, to get you into the sim racing world on PC, to give you that pathway into all the games that aren't on console yet, or games that are not going to come to console, full stop. So yeah, anyway guys, that's enough for part one. I really do hope you've liked this. I really do hope that you found it informative, that it's helped you, for especially the people that are looking to go from the console to a PC. And yeah, definitely give me your thoughts in the description box below. Are the frame rates playable? Are the graphics playable? Could you play it, being that it's on PC? Anyway guys, as I said, that's part one done of the series, the Potato Master Race, or sim racing on a potato. We will be back with part two, hopefully in the next week or two. And yeah, definitely smash that thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And yeah, maybe tickle that subscribe button if you feel it's worthwhile. But yeah, I'm going to go. And as always, I will catch you on the next one.